I'm the president of the Cyprus U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber is a non-profit, volunteer, membership-based organization. It's based out of here in New York City. And our mission is to improve, enhance trade relations between Cyprus and the United States. For example, last year we did a couple of events. One of the events, we brought 5 startup companies from Cyprus, and they did investor presentations to raise capital here in New York City. One of them actually is here, Point RF. Dov, thank you for coming. Stefano, thank you. Another initiative that we started last year, we brought 3 young professionals from Cyprus on a J1 visa as trainees. One of them was washing windows in Cyprus. The second one was a waiter. And the other guy was working in a real estate office, and obviously he was very slow in real estate. And today they work in a company here in the United States. They're doing an amazing job, and the objective is to send them back to Cyprus 6 months from now with this training that they're getting here. So those are 2 examples. As a chamber, we applaud the Capital Link, Nicolas and Olga, an amazing job, thank you. This event is a prime example of how the public sector and the private sector can work together and do something amazing, which it is. We're hoping that this becomes an annual event, or every 2 years, whatever it is, we'll figure it out, but this is something that Cyprus needs. In terms of the chamber, you can become a member. We need members. You can go online, cyprususchamberofcommerce.com. Become a member. It's a small fee. You can help us help Cyprus. Okay. Anyway, that's it about the chamber. The next panel is titled "Why Cyprus: The Cypriot American Investor Perspective." So, in the prior panel, you listened to American investors going to Cyprus and investing. These fine gentlemen right here on the panel are Cypriot Americans that are investing in Cyprus. And our panelists are 4 very successful Cypriot American businessmen. All 4 of them have been able to achieve the American dream in their own ways, right? Many of them came here with nothing as students, and they're doing amazing. In addition to having excellent careers, they're also helping the communities and always thinking about Cyprus. So they bring to the table a unique perspective, and they have invested in Cyprus in different ways. So our panelists are Nikos Mouyiaris, founder and CEO of Mana Products, John Televantos, partner with Arsenal Capital, Andreas Kramvis, operating partner AEA Investors, and until very recently he was the vice chairman of Honeywell, and Iordanou, he is the chairman of the board and CEO of Arch Capital. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. So let's start. So my first question is, why would an American company or an investor invest in Cyprus? Dino, I know your company has invested in Cyprus. Why?
Well, we look at opportunities throughout the world. Our company is a global company in nature. It's in financial services. We own insurance and reinsurance companies. So when we looked at Cyprus, we found 2 things. One, highly educated, highly motivated population with significant underemployment or unemployment in the youth. So we outsource quite a few functions to other parts of the world. For example, I have 300 people in the Philippines who do data entry type of work. When I looked at Cyprus, I said, maybe when we get into other needs, actuarial needs, analytical needs, accounting needs, that is a higher end of outsourcing, let me try. So a year ago, we opened an office. We hired 15 people. 4 of them, they're actuaries. 3 of them, they're statisticians, mathematicians. They work in predictive analytics, and the rest of them, they're in the accounting profession. And I can tell you, the results have been unbelievable. We're planning to expand to probably 30 people by year end, and probably up to 50 people by the end of 18. And even though we have no business activity, so to speak, in Cyprus, we require these kind of services, which the Cypriot community now is providing to us at approximately 35 to 40% of the cost that if we would have done exactly the same in the United States. So for those of you that you're in financial services and you have these high-end needs, I think it's a good place to go and look, to find talented individuals with a very high work ethic, the right credentials, educated predominantly in Greece, in the UK, in the US, certified either as accountants or as actuaries, and you can do a lot in Cyprus. That's one activity we have. The other activity, we looked at the opportunity through our investment department to see if there is alternative investments, and we found that in real estate there is opportunities. We struck a deal with the Bank of Cyprus, and we bought a set of properties off of them. These are beachfront properties, unfinished due to the financial crisis. We purchased those, and we found a developer who is working for us to continue the development of those properties, and eventually we will put them up for sale. So that's also, it will help our investment department achieving high returns by investing in Cyprus. The estimated IRR on those investments is in the mid-20s. So that's the two activities from the corporate point of view. Personally, I got involved on a few little other things with my friends Andreas and Nikos, and probably they're going to talk about it.
Yeah,
so
we'll talk about the personal.
In a different part of the section. Okay. Yeah.
So Andreas, I think you also had some experience with your company investing or trying to invest in Cyprus. Can you tell us?
Well, I'd rather I talk about, as Dinos has talked about the corporate side, talk more about what we've done personally. Some of us work together as a team, on this table. And I have to tell you that we're not doing this investment because we're Cypriots. It's not something that we consider as charity, because I think they'd say these are Cypriots, therefore they're going to invest in Cyprus. I have spent my career traveling around the world working for a company that has tens of thousands of very high quality technical engineers. And I think I know a good thing when I see it. And when I do, I kind of work with my friends here. So we have invested in high-tech companies in Cyprus. I don't know if Mr. Lupis is here. He mentioned that you can only get biotech in Boston. Well, that is not true. We have invested in an exceptional company in Cyprus, which is now the leading company in Europe in prenatal testing. We have been absolutely delighted with the results. The quality of the people is world-class, and world-class people bring world-class people. This is a small world. They have been able to attract great people, some of them from a diaspora, some of them just all sorts of nationalities, to enhance what we have. We are very proud of this. Another company that is in machinery for plastics. You'd say, how did this come about? Well, it's extraordinary individuals. And I just want to, when people say it cannot be done in Cyprus, when you see people who do it, those people are really superior, because they had to travel a lot further to get there. They know more, they can do more, they can deliver more. So we're delighted to back them. This company, we're already breaking even and exporting to Australia, exporting to Middle East, exporting to Europe. So in general, there's great opportunities, and we've acted as facilitators. The world being as small as it is, if you have the right kernel of people, you very quickly get the rest of them. The location is good. You very quickly bring people to get scale up of companies that, and I only look at things, we only look at things that we think have world potential. And that's not a simple criterion, but it is possible, and I believe will bring it to the fore.
And how do you find these companies? Do they come to you, or do you have a...
Well, to an extent, there is some reputation that they come because we've become known. But frankly, the biggest supply of opportunity came in 2013 when there was no money in Cyprus and people were coming here looking for money. And if I can relate my experience, is that I did bring some people to extremely knowledgeable investors in the US, and of course, they had a problem. There was all this, besmirching of the island. There's all these difficulties with the economic situation, but they kind of ignored the asset, and the asset was the technology and the people behind it. So that's how we got started in this. The asset was good. If you want to invest in this kind of thing in the US, you pay 20 times more. Maybe when you go to London, you pay 10. You go further east, you pay 5, but you pay 1 in Cyprus.
Okay, that's great. So Nikos, I know you're also investing with these fine individuals personally, but also your company has some involvement in Cyprus. Can you share with us?
Yes. Like Dinos, we hired some IT people, and Nico mentioned who these young people, these bright young people were. They were window washers or waiters, or they didn't have a job and whatever, and we brought them here. And George Alexander, who is their boss, told me that in 3 months these people were much better than our 15-year employees in the computer department. So this is the caliber of people that one can find in Cyprus. And we'd be very happy to really bring more of these people here, as well as other, scientists, chemists, and engineers, and things like that, to either, keep here if they can eventually stay here, or train them and then send them to Cyprus to do different things in Cyprus. That would be a great pleasure. And then, along with Andreas and Byron Georgiou, who is sitting with that yellow tie right there, we invested in in a couple of companies in Cyprus, and we did not invest because of emotional reasons, as Andreas said. We invested because of the caliber of the companies and the opportunities that these companies will have if they have some assistance from us, not just financial, but also some directions to how to become international entities, and they could. They have patented technologies and amazing technologies in biotechnology and engineering and things like that. As Andreas mentioned, this company that we invested in biotechnology, there were about 7 people 2 years ago. And now there are 50 people, the most amazing brains that I met, at least, and I'm a scientist, not a big scientist like these guys, but so we're so impressed, with their know-how and their willingness to really, learn and try and go outside. The executive director of this biotechnology company, Philippos Patsalis, a very known entity on Cyprus, every other day that I speak to him, he's in a different seminar worldwide as the main speaker in biotechnology. I mean, these are important things. And then another company that Andreas mentioned, I just want to really agree with him about the technology aspect, of this engineering company. It is also the potential that we are discussing now with Andreas, that this company manufactures plastic injection and blow molding machines put together. They make the big 5-gallon water jugs, and then now they are making the beer
Kegs.
Cakes, beer cakes. So what we are thinking with Andreas is going and finding all these beer companies worldwide and becoming, connected with them to make the cakes, so they will replace the aluminum cakes that now they have to replace or retrieve back and forth, etc., with a disposable, environmentally friendly PET plastic, and work together with them to make, their cakes right where they make the beer. It's like IFF, the fragrance company, goes worldwide and finds the cheap companies or different foodstuff companies, and they make the flavors for them right next to the manufacturing facility. If we can do the same thing with this company, guess what? It's going to be a big development, for Cyprus and this engineering company. And I'm in business for 42 years in the cosmetic business, and I did not hear of a company in Limassol. Thomason is called. It's a company that manufactures cosmetic filling machines, and they've been around for 40 years with 40 engineers. I don't know too many cosmetic machine equipment companies that have 40 engineers. And these people make the most amazing modern automated filling machines for small and huge, filling needs of oil in 5 gallons or other items and things like that. And maybe Andreas and I will talk to them so I can take them with the plastics equipment company and put them there to make filling machines for the beer as well. So this is the dream. So in other words, hopefully we will find other companies like this in Cyprus, and we can all invest and make money as well as create jobs for the Cypriot people and give them the know-how to become more exostraffic, which is very important, and Cypriots are exostraffic, but hopefully we will enable them to become much more so. Thank you.
Yeah, Dino?
Well, let me pick up on that point that Nikos made. I've been in business for 41 years, and I think what differentiates great companies from good companies from bad companies is talent and ability. And what we have in Cyprus, and unfortunately we keep it as a secret, we have a population that is, if I can use the word, over-educated. Everybody wants to go to college. Most of them do. They get good degrees in engineering, in mathematics, in science. And a lot of them, unlike us who chose to stay in the United States, they want to go back home. And when they go back home, they're unemployed. Or some of them, unfortunately, unemployed. Now, when you put that knowledge and that ability and that desire with some well-funded capital behind them, I think good things will happen. And that's what we see. The 4 of us here, and Byron sitting over there with a yellow tie, that's what we see, in investing not only in our people in Cyprus, but also for the opportunity, because the world has become smaller and smaller. This is the globalization, has happened. It's not going to be tomorrow's idea. And at the end of the day, the quality of life will rise in Cyprus, and the ability of these companies to dominate beyond the border based on the ability and the intellect of the individuals is what we see as investors. That's why we're putting our own personal funds into those companies.
John, how about you?
Yeah, well, a lot has been said by the group today, and I don't want to repeat it, but clearly everybody recognizes the superior education of the Cypriots. There's one other thing that hasn't been talked about today, and that is that Cypriots are really worldly people. We're a small island, and most of us have been educated abroad. That's why we have multilingual capabilities, but also worldly capabilities. And it takes that in a global economy to be able to communicate with the Chinese and with the Indians and the Russians to be able to bring business to Cyprus. And the fact that Cyprus has become a hub for the marine industry is not an accident. I think those capabilities came to bear to bring the strength. But it is a very competitive world, so I'm going to speak at a little higher level. It's a very global, competitive world. And companies that progress are the ones that have some basis of differentiation. It's not just a wish. And the knowledge-based capabilities of Cyprus are building, and the enabling economic, political environment and stability that's progressing in Cyprus is very encouraging to make them more and more a reality. In my mind, the things that I see, in addition to real estate and hospitality, which are obviously sectors that are very strong in Cyprus, I think the marine sector, the fast evolution of the marine sector, brings a lot more opportunities that have been harvested so far. Those companies need a lot of other services and products that are not yet available locally. I remember when the Japanese came to the US to produce cars, they brought with them all of the ancillary supply chain to be able to make the same quality cars. The same really applies to the industry hubs that are becoming very successful in Cyprus, and I see two of them that haven't quite emerged. One is the marine sector. There's a lot more that can be done to make that sector more successful, but bringing products and services closer to where they are. Rather than have to go out too far to get them, it's amazing how much more can happen if that access is very local, because communications are better, easier, and the supply chain is easier. And of course, the emerging energy sector, starting with natural gas, but a lot of opportunities that are yet to come to convert that into more valuable, useful products with government's helps and the right incentives that can become a next wave of another leg of growth in Cyprus.
Thank you.
Can I just add something to that? And in terms of trends I'm seeing as a frequent visitor, I think the worldliness is a very big point. You've heard about people going to work there. It's just a place that people have lived abroad, come back. There's a lot of people not born there, considered locals. I think that makes a big difference. The second thing is there's a big level of what I call business acumen. People are always trying to get a business going, and frankly, if they were in a bigger environment, there'd be miracles happening, because the markets are so small, so you got to work outside them. In terms of know-how, one particular one that is extremely high is, I just don't understand it, even why John and I and Nikos and Dinos, we kind of, we trained as engineers and trained as mathematicians, never with a chance of, never with the local industry. So you go to Cyprus and you find all these guys that have all this phenomenal training without a local industry to take them, so they go into other fields. A lot of them go into finance, go into shipping. But it's a huge pool for software. It's a huge pool for data analytics. As we found with some of our companies, the ability to very quickly find world-class people trained at the best universities, and you just put in an advertisement, and my goodness, you got 20 people who can do a job from very top names. And I think that's something that needs to be exported more, and certainly we will try and get something done here.
Okay, Dino?
Let me make another point on, we said we're not making these investments either personally or through our corporations to be benevolent because we're Cypriots. But I think we're breaking an old rule in Cyprus. The old rule is that unless you were wealthy and you came from 20 or 30 of the companies that had wealth in Cyprus, you wouldn't have the opportunity to create something that is extremely valuable and gain independent wealth, as we, all of us, have done in the United States because we were given the opportunity. And I think that's what we're trying to unlock. Find the talent, find the knowledge, find the desire, we'll supply the capital, and in collaboration with the people who bring the knowledge, along with our capital, I think not only we can create jobs, we can create successful enterprises, but also we can create some wealthy Cypriots that came from the very, very poor beginnings that all of us sitting up here, came from. And to me, that's even more important than just making more money.
One other comment that I think was mentioned, but it needs to be highlighted, is that the key enablement that we hope to bring is not just capital. It's also to look at these companies that have some technology differentiation, and what they lack is ability to globalize the access to the markets that exist. And Andreas has done a great job with some of his ideas and opportunities, but there's a lot more to do, because that is not an easy task. It's pretty easy to make a product. It is not easy to market it to global markets, because they're not exactly the same. And understanding those markets, connecting the right people, and making that happen, it can enable companies. We don't have to become a manufacturing place, but we can become a place where it's knowledge-based technology, that the product, just like Apple, can be produced in China. But the knowledge and the profit really remains with the entity that created the knowledge.
Thank you, John. So one last question before I open the question to the public here. So we have with us a number of government officials, CBIs here. Do you have any suggestions for them? Just one thing that you have identified as a gap that could help you as individuals investors, or a corporate type of investment for Cyprus?
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think one thing that we haven't mentioned, I'm pleased to have answered this question, is that the legal system is understandable. It functions. You can get a company going. There are courts. You can have an agreement. There's a company's house. You have auditors. It's a system we understand. It works very well. The tax environment is terrific. So the bilateral agreements are terrific. I think if I had to say something to the government, I think there's more that can be done to project the assets. And the assets, to me, the sun is one thing, everyone knows about it. It's the people. I think this high quality labor force that can transcend borders, can digitally go around the world. And in areas, a lot of know-how in areas that is huge demand. Data analytics, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't repeat what Andreas says, because everything he says is correct. The only two things I will add is the labor law is very good for companies in Cyprus. Is at will kind of a country, so in essence, for investors, is an advantageous place to be. And the only advice I'll give the government is tendencies by governments to over-regulate. And I think regulation is fine to protect consumers and product safety, etc. But the speed that it allows companies to evolve and put their products in the market is very important in a competitive, environment. And I hope, I don't believe is the case in Cyprus today, that over-regulation is an inhibitor, but if I will advise the government, is make sure that we stay as we are, and let's not regulation become the enemy of success.
Okay, thank you. Nico?
Yeah. One thing that I believe could help Cyprus is that the government and the private industry and other professional organizations in the country, I believe they need to sit down and decide, every 5 years or whatever, which area of industry or finance or whatever it is, or product they should focus on. And I'm taking as an example Korea. Korea, a few years back, they copied everything from Japan, and eventually they became a superpower in electronics. Sony was a superpower in electronics. All of a sudden, LG and Samsung are the superpowers in electronics. The past probably 6 years, Korea decided to become a superpower in cosmetics. And how are they doing it? They, of course, got the industry together, etc., etc. They built a big research center from everything, from pure research to product research, packaging, and everything else, marketing, digital, etc., 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 and they are becoming a big power in cosmetics. Everybody is talking about Korean cosmetics. And of course, their dream is to get into China in a very big way. But LG and Samsung, now they have cosmetics in Korea. They open cosmetic stores, they are manufacturing cosmetics, etc., etc., etc. So this didn't happen accidentally. This happened because the government and the industry, etc., decided that this sector is of great potential and whatever, worldwide. The population of the world is growing. Girls and boys now use cosmetics. Guess what? That can make you a real superpower in an area where it's an opportunity.
Thank you, Nico. Any questions from the audience? Come on, at least one question. No? Aristos? No.
Thank you to all of you. Outstanding points made. If you mentioned about getting the word out, so to speak, in terms of Cyprus's obvious benefits and assets which you see, because you have the benefit of having an affinity with the country. Do you have any specific suggestions or comparisons, as you've done, Nico, with Korea, in terms of what could be done better or in terms of getting the word out, so to speak?
Well, getting the word out has to be in an organized fashion. Let me share a statistic with you. Mm-hmm. When I was researching about actuarial potential in Cyprus, here is a nation with less than 1 million people. We have over 100 actuaries in Cyprus, either accredited or in the process of getting the accreditation. There is only 7 in the entire nation of Turkey, with some 65 million or 70 million people. How can you compare the two? That's a big secret, though. I can tell you that a lot of financial companies in Europe, that they're looking, for that talent, which is in short supply. Predictive analytics is in short supply. Actuarial science is in short supply. And for whatever reason, we have unemployed actuaries in Cyprus. To me, that's a shame. And we need to do a much better job of understanding what we have. And I think it's government's responsibility and their organizations to publicize that and then look for opportunities to provide that talent and make it available to companies throughout the world, because the world is a global marketplace today.
I think one other thing, everybody wants to be second, nobody wants to be first. It's too risky. So showing examples of success, where companies have either brought to Cyprus or have flourished in Cyprus because of the enabling environment, using those examples and taking it to similar companies around the world, it's going to be a lot easier to get results than being sort of very generic.
Okay, anything else? I think we're done. 27 seconds left, so thank you.